Hello, this is Alan from Launch Tabletop. I also go by RNG Cake on Discord if you need to reach me. This is a guided tour of the open beta version of TCG Smith, which is available to anyone who is interested in using it. So, to access TCG Smith, you want to jump on to next.launchtabletop.com. And when you visit the site on your webpage, this is the page that you're greeted with. This is the login form, and down here is where you get an opportunity to register an account. Note that if you're already, this is not the same account as the primary app.launchtabletop.com platform. This is a brand new siloed version, given that this is an open beta. So even if you have an account already, and even if you have a previous version of TCG Smith called Black Lotus, you still need to create a new account. That's just as we sort of migrate everything into this new architecture. So without further ado, because I already have an account, I'm just going to log in. When you first log in, you are greeted with a quick summary page. This will eventually go away, but this is here just during the open beta period to acquaint users to using the system, as well as the price guide. Eventually, the price guide itself will probably integrate into the app, similar in a way as to how LaunchLab works. Okay, so first things first, I guess, you want to look at the top level things that you can do with the user interface. Light and dark mode is available. Some people prefer dark mode. I do myself, but for video presentation reasons, I'll keep it as light. On the top right hand corner is where you have your account information, your accounts, the support link, as well as the link to Discord. And this is where we welcome, we would very much prefer anyone who's using TCG Smith to jump onto the TCG Smith channel or Discord and report your experiences, thoughts, or limitations of the system, things that you feel like you can't do, or there are some sort of user experience improvements that we could make. Anything like that would be helpful to the development of the service going forward. So on the left hand side, when you click on the module, TCG Smith module, in the future Launch Lab, Dispatch, and all that will all join essentially this app. You're met with projects view and the orders view. So let's go into projects. I already have one created. But I'll just temporarily show you what creating a project looks like. When you go into a project creation page, it asks you for a project name, box image for your display box, card back image for the project, and a label sticker for the booster packs. So these you don't have to immediately provide. You can just create the project with the project name, and you're able to progress to the next step. So I've just gone back to the previous page because I wanted to show you one that I've already created. So clicking on the project itself, I haven't actually provided a box image or a label sticker image myself, but I did provide the card back image. Note that this card back, the artwork that you provide to TCG Smith, needs to include bleed. That's why the card art looks like it's got a very thick border. That eventually gets cut. We will have, similar to how LaunchLab works, a preview so that you will actually default to having the cards cut with the proper rounded corners, with an option to see the version with or without the cut, and that will eventually make its way into this version. But for now, just take note of that particular thing. The next thing to take note is that there are a particular dimension requirement for the box image, the card back image, and the label sticker image. Unlike TCG Smith, the previous version, and in Launch Lab, this is a strict limit for the moment. Eventually, this will be relaxed as we introduce a new image resizing solution. Or we have one that we're developing at the moment, which is different to the one that we've already got in Launch Lab. So if you're uploading, it will be very strict. If it's off by a pixel, it will probably complain to you and say that you need to provide it exact. There's a few reasons why, and we understand that this is not ideal. A lot of people prefer it if it's off, then just either crop it or resize it for the customer's sake. So we understand that, but for the moment, this is the requirement. If you need the access to the template links, I'm not sure why the template links don't exist in the edit pages themselves, but they do exist when you create a project. Here, PDF templates. So that link, a feedback to my developers, should also persist across created projects. Okay, so that's the project view and edit projects. On the right-hand side, you're met with cards, rarities, slots, boxes, with a little hidden functionality called Simulate. This is actually a very important functionality, but the reason it's hidden in here is because in the natural process of you configuring your project, eventually there will be a Simulate button that you can click on. So you don't necessarily need that this Simulate button here. That's why it's sort of put into the burger menu. Okie dokie. So I've already created the cards, but I will show you what they look like. So there are two different views. You've got the list view and then the gallery view. The gallery view is nice, useful mostly for visualization, things like seeing stats for your card, as well as being able to reorder the cards. So once you do that, you can click to save the order. The reordering, that might not seem like why is that important? I'll explain that there is certain functionalities that actually might come in handy. Normally though, the table view is where you want to do the bulk of the actual editing work. For example, clicking on certain cards, setting the rarity, assigning them the rarity types. You can click on to individual entries, the full entry details, and when you click on edit, you're able to then make certain changes. I won't go into the details of this just yet. I want to showcase the other views first, and then I'll come back to the editing of cards. So next we have the rarity. By default, as a brand new account, you will have common, uncommon, rare. Mythic is one I added after. But these are also, you can just delete them if you wish. So there's no prescribed rarity settings that you need. So if you have different naming schemes for your rarities, by all means, you can do that and change those. Within the rarity view, you're able to provide some color labelings. This is mostly just for visual sake. Allow duplicate for your rarity types. I'll explain this in a bit. Simulation mode, the different types of simulation modes, random, sequence, and shuffle. I will also explain this in more detail shortly. So that's the rarities, and then you have slots. And slots is kind of like the key concept for TCG Smith, as well as majority of TCG games. Not all TCG games use this concept, but the best way to kind of top line explain this is you want to think about your TCG game at a booster pack level. So a booster pack has 16 cards maximum. You can up to 16 cards. So a booster pack can have fewer but not more than 16, at least the way that our system is configured, along with production limitations as well. And the TCG slots, they represent the different categories or tiers of rarities that you want to allocate to the available cards that you have in your booster packs. A very good example would be how this is laid out. So mythic card, guaranteed there's always going to be 1 in a pack, 10 commons, 4 uncommons, 1 rare. And that adds 10 plus 4 plus 1 plus 1 equals 16. So I'm using essentially the maximum number of card slots. And that's sort of how the breakdown works. So this comes in and sits hand in hand with how setting up the rarities. And that sort of, between these two, kind of constitutes the majority of how the distribution works for your card game. But it goes quite a bit further. So now that we've kind of established slots and rarities, individual cards can also have more granular occurrence settings if you wish. In many cases, you probably don't need to go down to this fine a detail. But if you have a particular design in mind that wants something that has more granular controls of your occurrence mode, you absolutely can. And this is kind of the main difference between if you're used to the previous version of TCG Smith to the current version. The previous version is much more statistics forward, percentages, occurrences, and all that. What we've done is we've tried to present it in a more TCG creator sort of language, sort of how people sort of wrap their head around occurrences. And the way it's done is typically you think about it in terms of, say, well, this will show up once every 10 cards, or once every 10 booster packs, or once every 10 box. So each box is 30 booster packs. So that kind of gives you an idea of sort of how you want to not only set your occurrences, particular occurrences for this single card, but also how you want to communicate that to your players. So the players know, oh, I have a 1 in 10 chance that I might get this super, super rare card. 1 in 10 chance in terms of 1 in 10 boxes, to get this card. So like super, super rare. You need to buy 10 boxes to, have a chance of actually guaranteeing a card. But it also goes to game level as well. So what this actually means is this card will show up exactly once for the entire history of this project. Meaning that once this card has been simulated and it's been printed out, it will no longer be printed ever again. And that is quite useful if you have very specific design goals, like you have designer signature cards that you want to kind of seed into your game. And once those, artist signature cards have been printed, and maybe there are only ever, not sure. You're supposed to be able to change the numerator as well here. So custom game. I'm not exactly sure. But this you can have 10. 10, signature series 10. I'm not exactly sure why it's not allowing me to do that change. Okay, it is just a browser issue. Not sure, but anyway, so you're able to say, oh, this card will only ever show up 10 times, and once it's printed, it's out of print, it's gone. So we think that this is a more intuitive way of thinking about occurrences. Obviously, when you go into the simulation, we give you all the nitty gritty details of percentages and whatnot. So if you really do want something that's a little bit more crunchy, it's there for you. Okay, so we've talked about cards and setting up individual card rarity distribution occurrences. We haven't talked about the duplicate level and simulation mode. So allowed duplicate is some games, they want to make sure that cards that players get in their booster packs are not copies. Like you will never get two of the same, basically. That's not really usually how it works. Most TCG games you will get duplicates, and that's kind of like the part and parcel to the excitement of just blind boxes or getting rare cards. And maybe you get two of the same rares, and those are exactly the two that you want. But if you want, you can set it so that the duplication is at a pack level or at a box level. So at a pack level, it means that within a pack, you may have the chance of seeing a duplicate card. At a box level, it's saying that within a pack, it's guaranteed to be all unique. But obviously, you can have duplicates of that card within the box that you simulate. So say that you have 5 I don't know, common dragon, and across the box you'll see 7 packs have this card. So that's a duplicate in that sense. Hope that makes sense. Okay, so simulation mode is essentially different types of card picking modes. So random is just actual random. So proper distribution, what you are most familiar with in any TCG project. Sequence is pick the common pool of cards in sequence. So you'll go, pick from first card and then second card, third card, and just go down the line. And that is where previously, when we went to the cards and into the gallery view, you'll see that this actually, the ordering can affect how the sequential picking comes into play. Yeah, going back to rarities, we also have the shuffle mode. I've had a report that the shuffle mode might actually be functioning correctly. It's something that I'll need to investigate. But different to random, the idea is that the cards are first pre-filtered to the box level, and then once it's at the box level, then it's shuffled and distributed into the packs. So slightly different. I think that's how it works. I'll need to confirm that because it's not working, so I'm not exactly sure what the intentions are with the developers on how this should be implemented. But I will sort of get back to you on this one. Okay, so there's the rarities. We've talked about slots. I haven't showed you what a slot might look like. So once you go into a slot, you can change. So this is the quantity of cards in a booster pack. So I've set, each booster will have 1 mythic card. Sort order in this case doesn't actually matter, other than yes, it does matter. I'll show you how it matters in a bit. Mostly, it doesn't really, in the grand scheme of things, doesn't change much, but there is a use for it. The system does tell you how many of the cards have been allocated to other slots. So just to give you a nice sort of overview on sort of where you're at there. Okay, so there's that. Moving on to boxes. So if it's a completely blank project, a new project, you'll have nothing in this entry, and this is where you want to run your first simulation. So you want to go ahead and do that. You can click on this anytime, even if you've already got boxes generated. And this is essentially taking the configurations you've made with your cards, rarities, and slots, and run the simulation by creating 10,000 booster packs. And based on the 10,000 booster packs, it's going to then show you what all the statistics. Now, the reason why it looks very boring, and even in my project, is because my sample cards, I've only put in like 15 or 17 sample cards. As so in a 16 card pack, well, you're going to see all the cards. So this is really just a quick demonstration purposes. But in your project, you're likely going to have a lot more than 17 cards if you're doing a TCG game. So you'll probably have, I don't know, 30, 40, up to 100, if you have an ambitious project to the scale of, say, Magic the Gathering, then you're probably looking around close to about 280 to 300 cards in your card pool. When that occurs, then the graph will look a lot more interesting. So card distribution won't just have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I literally only have 6 cards in the common pool. But if you have 30 cards, then the graph is going to look more interesting and have peaks and valleys and such. What I did forget to explain also are foils. So that's my mythics, essentially. All my mythic card designs are considered foil cards. So the way that you do that is you go into your card and you edit them, and you change the card type from a standard card to a foil card. That's really all that's necessary. And now this will be a card type of foil. Notice that these are standard. If I show all my cards, then you'll see that there are 2 foils in my pool. Okay, going back to the simulation. So this simulation has other useful information. For example, it's going to show you how it's simulated every individual pack from the first card all the way to card 16 if you are doing 16 card booster packs. All the rundowns, and this way you're able to sort of get a good idea of what the general sort of idea of the boosters are. Note that this is this simulated pack won't be the actual packs that you'll be ordering, and I'll explain why and how that works in a bit. Next is draw statistics, so you can really drill down to how many times out of the 10,000 booster packs has this card been drawn, and gives you sort of a percentage of the draw rate. This is in relation, if you add all those numbers up, it equals 100%. But you can also get down to a very granular distribution level. So I'll find something that's a little bit more common. So like the wolf pelt, drawn 10% of all the cards that we have. And if you click on view, you'll be able to then see the kind of like a visual guide to what it looks like. So I'll quickly explain what this means. So each stack is a box of boosters, and each row is a booster. Each column is the card in the booster. So in box 1, booster 1, and card 3, 4, and 6 are the wolf pelt. So you'll see that, wolf pelt is, you get 3 wolf pelts in this booster. And in the second booster, only 1 wolf pelt exists. And this one has 2 wolf pelts. So this is where that duplicate per pack concept comes in, because you're allowing duplicates. And in this case, because I have so few cards in the pool, it's always going to just keep repeating itself. Obviously, the more common cards you have in the pool, the less repeats you'll see. But sometimes you want repeats. So I say that you've got Magic the Gathering, and you want land as a allocation, rarity allocation, and you do want lots of duplicate lands, because that's kind of how it works. So you want So that's really just how you want to design your game. Okay, so there's all of that information about simulation. Once you've run the simulation, then you can go back to the boxes. You can then add essentially booster packs. Essentially, this is the actual generation part of the system. So when you run the simulation is run offline on the client side, on your side, on the browser level. And once all these statistics, you've tweaked the statistics, you're happy with it, then that this box, add packs to box, is where you generate essentially those actual boxes that is stored on our side that you can then use to make your order. So let's just, in this example, I'll just add a box. So let's see, last updated 10th of December. This will be this one. This is the one that's been generated. Now I can basically add this to an order now that I've got this box. But let's take the jump into the box itself and have a look. So as I mentioned previously, in the simulation mode, it shows you every individual booster pack and all the cards that go into that pack. In reality, that's not how the boxes will be printed. It will be printed based on the actual generated statistics and data that we have here. And there are a couple of reasons why I do this. The first and foremost, like the key reason, is with regards to how TCGs work. There is a certain level of blind boxness, as even for game creators. You don't want to be it's not really a correct thing, ethical thing, if the creator also has like absolute control over every single booster pack, and that kind of granularity doesn't exist even for mass-produced retail games. And it's for good reason, right? Because if your game kind of takes off, or that somehow there's a market for a particular card, like a misprinted card, or I don't know, a signature card, you don't necessarily want either the creator or our system basically is able to store very specific information of, pack 13 of box 12 has the one unique card in your game. That level of granularity is unnecessary, but also potentially a bit dangerous. So what we do provide, that you can see on this page, is total number of cards in a box and how many cards have been are printed into this box. So again, I only have 17 cards in my card pool, so all 17 cards will be shown. But if you have, say, a 200 card pool game, you will know that maybe it will say something like 76 unique cards are in this box. And if it's 76 cards, I don't know why I chose such a weird number to math. Let's just try 100 cards, right? If it's 100 unique cards represented, that means that on average, players need to buy 2 boxes worth to be able to get potentially up to a full pool of your cards. For, like if you want to collect all the cards, then you need to buy at least 2 boxes to be able to see it on average. Obviously, it's on average, so maybe, you need to buy a 3rd box because there are a few leftover hanging ones, that kind of stuff. But this gives you sort of some details about the cards that will go into each box, but not precisely where it sort of ends up in each booster pack. Obviously, the booster packs will still be produced based on the rules that you've set. We just don't surface that information to creators. Okay, so I believe the last thing to discuss are orders. So once you've created your project and you've got those boxes, then you can go in and create your order. To start off with, you probably won't have an address, so it will ask you to create an address. Once you've got a shipping address, you can then select out of the boxes that you've generated, the ones that have not already been allocated into an order. So there's, I believe, all these ones. This is the most recent one that we've got. Click on the one that you want, add to create the order, and then the order will show up. Top, this one. So once the this is added, you can go in to have a look at the details. And you'll give you sort of the pricing breakdown. Note that the pricing breakdown does not include shipping yet. That will come when you've made your order, essentially. Once this order is in the system, it will notify us, and we will jump in and amend the order and the price to include shipping. So we'll do that on our end. Once you've gotten that, you'll receive an email for a request for payment. So different to Launch Lab. Launch Lab has an automated, streamlined payment process, which you just pay online, pay directly, and then it's done. That part hasn't been integrated into the system just yet. So we'll issue you a payment link. You just use the payment link, pay it, and then the status will update once it's paid with the shipping accordingly, and you're good to go. And that's kind of where it is. Now, there is a little dot saying there are some things that you need to check. So in this particular case, if you go to the project itself, I'm missing the box image and the label sticker for the boosters. These currently look like they're required, but from I believe from a service perspective, you can actually go with boxes with no artwork, so unprinted boxes. It actually ends up being a little bit cheaper as well. If you don't want printed boxes and you just want essentially just the boosters is what you want. The label sticker, I believe, is required. Not because we can't make it so that it's optional if you don't want any printing, a label affixed to the booster foil packs. But if you don't have anything on your boosters, then you're not really branding your game on the booster packs. So it doesn't seem like it. People would want it as an optional choice. So this is probably required, unless you tell us that there's a use case for not having it. Once you've provided this information, then I believe, this thing will go away. We'll then update the status. And from here on out, it's basically the same as making an order on Launch Lab. It will go into checking the artwork. That's a good point. The way that artwork is checked is different to Launch Lab, where we check on the order level. What we do is that we actually check on your card pool level. So once the cards have been checked, the status will actually be verified here. I believe this is where it goes. And once it's verified, then you're good to go. It won't be checked again. So, it's not like every time you have to make a new order, then the cards have to be rechecked by pre-press. It's check once it's done, then if you update the artwork or update the card's artwork in some way, obviously that has to be rechecked. But this is a different way to streamline the process a bit for TCG creators. Okie dokie. So that, I believe, concludes everything. That's about a 30-minute video, so it's already way longer than I was hoping for. But GG, have fun.